Alright, let's dive right into this explainer and try to unlock the secrets of the upcoming 2026 film. If you've been following the leaks lately, you already know Marvel and Sony are gearing up for something absolutely massive. So we're going to piece together what to expect from this highly anticipated movie by looking directly at the legendary 2008 comic storylines that actually share its name.
So what exactly does Peter's future hold? Well, to figure that out, we have to look at the ultimate mystery surrounding his current status in the MCU right now. Think back to the completely devastating events of his last outing in 2021. The entire world forgot who Peter Parker was, he lost his aunt, and he ended up completely, utterly isolated. Where does a hero even go when they've lost absolutely everything and literally have to rebuild their life from scratch?
Well, a recently leaked 2026 movie synopsis gives us a huge clue. It explicitly tells us that 4 whole years have gone by, stating Peter Parker is no more, but Spider-Man is at the top of his game. But you really got to listen to these next lines. It says he's pulled into a web of mystery and must face the repercussions of his past. Those aren't just generic taglines. They are incredibly specific, ominous hints that perfectly mirror a very distinct era in the comics.
To truly decode what's coming, we really need to jump back in time to that massive 2008 comic reset, which was aptly titled Brand New Day. The parallels between the cinematic universe and the comic universe here are just fascinating. On screen, Doctor Strange's memory-wiping spell left Aunt May dead and Peter's friends completely oblivious to his existence. In the 2008 comics, there was a similar reality-altering reset, but it played out a bit differently. Peter's marriage to Mary Jane was completely erased to restore his secret identity, but in that new reality, Aunt May was actually alive, and his old friend Harry Osborn had miraculously returned. In those comics, Peter woke up to a totally transformed New York City. It was packed with a brand new cast and some truly wild villains. The Daily Bugle was bought out by this celebrity businessman named Dexter Bennett, who rebranded it as the DB. Meanwhile, Peter made some new allies like NYPD forensics expert Carly Cooper. But he also had to face this crazy gallery of bizarre new rogues. We're talking about the drug-mutated freak, the dimension-flattening paper doll, and this really intense dual-natured crime boss, Mr. Negative.
Now, within this wild new world, there was one particular mystery that had everybody guessing, and it's all about a hero named Jackpot.
So, the city suddenly gets this registered red-headed superhero calling herself Jackpot. Peter was absolutely convinced this was Mary Jane in disguise. But the truth was actually this incredible legacy that ended up evolving across 3 entirely different women over the course of about 15 years. It all started with the original Jackpot, a scientist named Sarah Arrett. She gained immense superhuman strength after accidentally getting exposed to this experimental serum called Lot 777. She survived it and became a registered hero, but she was absolutely terrified for her family's safety. So she did something pretty unbelievable. She literally sold her registered superhero identity and her costume to an eager fan.
And that fan was Alana Jobson. Now, Alana didn't actually have any natural powers of her own, so she relied on a highly lethal cocktail of enhancement drugs, including MGH, just to mimic Sarah's super strength. And as you might guess, it ended in absolute tragedy. During a really intense battle, her drug cocktail catastrophically reacted with a villain's blindness-inducing neurotoxin, which caused a massive, fatal heart attack.
Which brings us right up to the modern era. Mary Jane Watson herself finally adopted the Jackpot mantle in 2023. MJ used this power slots gauntlet from an alternate dimension that basically gave her randomized slot machine-style superpowers. But what's truly stunning is her massive 2025 transformation. MJ actually bonded with the Venom symbiote, fusing it with her gauntlet. She became this highly aggressive, shape-shifting anti-hero, fighting alongside and sometimes even against Spider-Man.
Okay, let's pivot for a second and talk about some of the escalating threats Peter had to face back then, specifically looking at the explosive storyline, New Ways to Die.
Just as Peter was kind of getting used to his new life, his old enemies evolved in some seriously terrifying ways. This era gave us the miraculous but highly dangerous birth of Anti-Venom. Eddie Brock was tragically dying of cancer, but while volunteering at a feast shelter, Martin Lee, who remember, is secretly the villain Mr. Negative, miraculously cured him. This healing touch mutated the remaining Venom white blood cells inside Eddie's body, creating the white and black anti-Venom. This new symbiote had the aggressive power to literally cure diseases and even strip other heroes of their powers.
And the stakes just absolutely skyrocket when Norman Osborn shows up.
He brings his lethal, government-backed team, the Thunderbolts, right into New York City. At this point, Spider-Man has been framed for a series of murders, and Osborn basically uses this as the perfect excuse to hunt the web-slinger down using a sanctioned hit squad of supervillains.
But the real game-changer here is Mac Gargan's terrifying transformation. See, at this point, the Scorpion had already bonded with the original Venom symbiote. But Norman Osborn decides to give him a lethal upgrade, placing the symbiote inside a high-tech Scorpion armor to create what they called Venorpion. He instantly became one of Spidey's absolute deadliest, most unhinged foes. So all of this tension builds and erupts into a totally chaotic, fast-paced battle right in the middle of New York. Spider-Man actually has to team up with Eddie Brock's anti-Venom just to have a chance at taking down the Thunderbolts and Gargan's crazy Venoporian armor. The fight is incredibly brutal. It ends in massive destruction and a literal building collapse. And of course, Norman Osborn wastes no time holding a press conference to falsely declare to the world that Spider-Man died in the rubble. So, taking all this deep comic lore we've just uncovered, how does this synthesize with what we're going to see on the big screen?
Well, the magic number here is 4. The movie leaks confirm a 4-year time jump. This means the MCU is skipping Peter's college years entirely. Instead, they're going to show us a hardened, isolated hero who has been operating solely as Spider-Man, having left the identity of Peter Parker completely behind for almost half a decade.
Remember that leaked synopsis mentioning the repercussions of his past? This strongly points to the return of Mac Gargan, played by Michael Mando. Think about it. Gargan has been sitting on a severe grudge against Spider-Man since all the way back in 2017's Homecoming. Knowing the heavy influence of the New Ways to Die storyline, this perfectly sets the stage for Gargan to finally break out and get a massive, symbiote or tech-based Scorpion upgrade to hunt Peter down.
And what about that web of mystery line? That phrasing suggests a new mastermind is quietly pulling the strings of the criminal underworld from the shadows. Elements from the comics reset, like the introduction of the dual-natured crime boss Mr. Negative, might just be the key here. Especially since Martin Lee secretly runs the very FEAST shelters that Aunt May used to work at. That would be a brilliant way to unlock the movie's main villain and deeply tie Peter's past directly to his present.
We've seen just how much incredible lore these specific comics have to offer, which brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. With Mary Jane Watson currently starring in the comics as the symbiote-bonded hero Jackpot, how is the MCU going to adapt Zendaya's MJ moving forward? Is she going to remain totally in the dark about Peter, or will she hit the jackpot herself, taking on a superhuman mantle to face this coming gang war? It's a massive question, and honestly, it just leaves us counting down the days until 2026.